Hey everybody, welcome to the Great Crypto Casino and my new channel, Bailey's Bets, right? Where we're going to be covering all things cryptocurrency and how to make crazy gains in this bull market. All right, we're going to be talking tokens, coins. We're going to be talking the GambleFi space. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be gambling not just on tokens, but actual casino gambling as well. All right, we're talking about DeFi projects. We're going to be talking about gaming. There's going to be tons of stuff going on. It's going to be wild and crazy. And I'd like to welcome everyone to episode 1, where, hey, with all things, we're going to start with the foundations. We're going to be talking about a solid crypto portfolio. All right, that's what we're going to be building out in this episode, day 1, because we are going to be crushing this bull market. All right, and we're going to be using the power of, oh yes, I haven't forgotten, mathematics to do it all. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in and enjoy the episode.
All right, everyone. So here we have Aave, which is one of the most trusted protocols and sites that you have in crypto. Over $17.7 billion of assets are kept here, battle tested and very reliable. All right. So we're only going to go or try to stick to like really top-notch, safe protocols in this bull market, right? Don't fumble the bag. Okay. Make gains and have some prosperity. Bailey, don't fuck it up, right? That's kind of like the whole idea behind it. All right, so we're going to be using this, and this is where we're going to be building our solid foundation for our portfolio. All right, and what we're going to be able to do here in Aave is to deposit our core assets and our huge blue chips, and we're able to borrow some capital against those. Right, so this is kind of like the Michael Saylor playbook of buy Bitcoin, borrow some money, buy more Bitcoin, and win, right? We see this, Coinbase is now going to be doing it. MicroStrategy, again, Michael Saylor just announced another 500 million that he's going to be buying more Bitcoin with. Buy the top, of course, because this is going to infinity, right? All right, so check it out, guys. So what we're going to do is the very first thing is we're going to be depositing our core assets. And I have this starting off as a sample portfolio, just an example of something that you could do. All right, this is kind of how I structured mine, very similar to this. And you're going to be able to see what you could do or what you shouldn't do, right? You're going to learn something here no matter what. Like you could be like, this guy's an absolute crazy man, right? Or you could be like, this guy's a genius. Like I'm going to do that. But you should be able to get something out of it here. All right. So here is kind of like my little playbook of how I'm going to structure my portfolio. Okay. And so this is starting off with $20,000. All right. If you want to use something similar, if you have more money, you can scale it up. If you have less money, you can kind of scale it down. But you can do something similar along these lines. And we're going to be using Aave to get some leverage, all right, or to borrow some capital to increase our exposure to the crypto market, right? As a bull market, we're going to be making a lot of money, right? If we play our cards right and we make good, sound, solid decisions, we should be able to come out ahead and, have our money grow, right? Be unlike the other 95% of people that like lose their entire bags or come away down in the experience. All right. So here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to take whatever your starting amount is. So $20,000 is what I have here. And I'm going to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. All right. So the two big guns, all right, the biggest market caps, 1 and 2. The ETFs in Bitcoin have kind of showed us like how amazing I think going forward that the price appreciation is going to be. And also we're looking at, now that they're in ETFs, probably the typical market cycle, the game has changed, right? I don't think we're going to see as big of drawdowns as we had been seeing in the past. So BTC rock solid, all right? Larry Fink is like FOMO and like crazy. It's like the new gold, right? This thing is going to the moon. Okay. Ethereum, same thing, right? Ethereum, amazing blockchain, revolutionized the industry. All right. The gas prices suck, but they just created that layer two solution, Dencun, and who knows, what's going to be happening in the future. But Ethereum is, just a super, super solid asset to hold as well. And both of these, I think we could get some decent gains out of it. Is it 100x moonshot? Absolutely not. But could BTC and ETH from here do another like 2x, another 3x? It's entirely possible. All right. So we want to have exposure to that, right? We don't want to ever be at a point in time where we're not benefiting from the price appreciation and the bullishness of BTC and ETH, right? Those are kind of like the backbone of my portfolio and our portfolio, okay? So boom, I start off with 20 grand, okay? I buy 10 grand of BTC, 10 grand of Ethereum, and I go to Aave and I deposit both of those amounts, okay? Now, if you have preference, so we're going to go to Aave here, and we're going to do launch the app. All right, so if you have a preference over what blockchain you want to kind of make like your home base, all right, that is absolutely fine. You can deposit both the Bitcoin and Ethereum on the same blockchain, or you can deposit it on different blockchains if you'd like. Okay, so here are all the blockchains that version 3 is what you want, that is available. Now I'm sticking to kind of like the big blockchains that I know are going to have a lot of capital, right? A lot of TVL, because that makes borrowing and lending a lot easier on those big blockchains. So the ones that I personally use, I do use some Base, all right, but I wouldn't quite recommend Base for your Bitcoin, because I don't believe it has Bitcoin as an asset yet. But you can deposit your ETH there, and like the borrow rates are pretty reasonable as well for stable coins is what we're going to be borrowing. Okay. But we have Arbitrum, Avalanche. Those are two that I've had funds on along with Base. Optimism I have not used, but that's a very popular one. I have Polygon right now. I have a whole bunch of assets on Polygon, and I have a whole bunch of assets on the BNB chain. And BNB chain is actually new for Aave. It's only been here now for, I want to say, under 2 months at the time of this recording. So people would traditionally be using Venus. I kind of think Venus is trash. Aave came to BNB chain, and I'm like, yeah, buddy. All right. So I'm all about Aave on the BNB chain. Okay. So you deposit, and any of the blockchains you want, you deposit your ETH and your BTC. Okay. So check, check. I got 10 grand in BTC on one of these blockchain Aave sites, and I have ETH also in there. Okay, it can be on the same one. All right, I have like both of them stored in the on the BNB chain. Polygon chain would be good. Anything that has like cheap gas fees, right? Don't like be storing these on like ETH mainnet, okay? Because all right, but any other one that you're comfortable with, pop them in there. You're good to go. Okay. All right, now what are we going to be doing, right? Because we just spend all of our money on BTC and ETH. Like, that's kind of boring, right? Like, man, like where my meme coins at? Like I don't have any money for that. Okay, so here's now the next step in what I decided to do. Or very similar to what I actually did, but this is like a good proto. This is a good kind of blueprint for it. I did something very, very similar. I kind of took out the soul from here, but Solana is like, it's pretty bullish. Like a lot of people are onto that blockchain and like the meme coins, and it's just like tons of volume on there. So it's going to come in handy, and it's going to be one that appreciates. All right. So we're going to have these like big kind of blue chip L1 tokens that we're now going to invest into with borrowed funds. All right. And that's what you can do on Aave. So wherever you're at, right? So say if I'm on the B2B chain, okay, and I put in my Bitcoin and Ethereum into the BNB chain. So it'll have my assets up here, and then we can borrow against those assets. So those assets are going to be called collateral. I'm going to borrow against them, and we're going to choose to borrow stable coins, right? Because we're in a bull market, we're expecting the crypto to appreciate, and the stable coins are going to be staying stable. Okay, so we're going to be able to outgain the value of the stable coins that we borrowed by smart maneuvers and the bull market price appreciation. And then, we're also going to be down the line getting yield and income from some of the crypto that we'll talk about in a minute. All right. But like, so here, guys, like I would be like, okay, USDT is a little tight, it's like 28%. So that's a little high. FDUSD is 35%. That's like really high, but they're paying me 10%. It's like a special promotion. This is going to come back down when there's no Binance launch pools happening. The price always skyrockets, or the yield or the rate always skyrockets when one of those are in effect. So all these are variable. But for now, I'm like, oh, USDC is only 6%. That's cheaper than any credit card out there and all that stuff. So boom, what we would do is we would put our 20 grand of ETH and BTC, and we would borrow $10,000 of USDC. Okay. Um, Now, one thing to note is there's going to be, and I'll do more videos on this, like health ratios, and you can only borrow a certain amount before you would get in trouble or liquidated. Okay. And I try to keep my health ratio between like 1.8 and 2. And another way to think about that is I like to try to keep the amount of funds that I have borrowed about 50% of the assets that I have in the supply area of the market. Because if you're allowed to borrow typically between like 70 and 80% of the value. But if it then goes over that, you're eligible to be liquidated and you could be losing out on your crypto. So you have to like play it safe and give yourself wiggle room in case like there's a big dump in your assets and you're borrowing stable coins. Don't want to borrow too much. Okay. However, you do want to take advantage of this because I want to show you at the end what it's going to do for you. Okay. But so I would stick to a max of like 50% of the total value borrowed. If you want to be more conservative, go less, right? If you get really comfortable and you really kind of know exactly what you're doing, you can push it up a little bit, if you wanted to test the limits, but I would recommend against it. All right, so we're going to borrow 10 grand of USDC. Okay, what are we going to do with it? Okay, so now we're going to go to our blue chip layer 1 tokens. All right, I'm going to split that up into like the big four. All right, I'm going to buy 2,500 of Sol, 2,500 of BNB, 2,500 of Matic, 2,500 of AVAX. What? Bailey, you're crazy, right? Okay. No, man, look at this. Okay. So if we take a look, BNB number 4, BNB's been going absolutely bananas. So BNB, Solana, right? Avalanche right here, another huge layer 1. Okay. And we got Polygon. Okay. Polygon is going to be big. I really like it. It's going through like some nice, really big upgrades that are going to be coming down the road. And what is awesome about Polygon is it's tokenomics where almost all of the emissions are out, right? Where, you see like Avalanche, like only 52% of, the max supply is actually like circulating, right? So this has a lot more to go. So like this is a very much of a under depreciated blockchain. So But notice, guys, that like all of those that are big money is in these, top 15 tokens, right? So like that's like as safe as you can be in crypto. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting X's on those, they're not going to 10X, but we could potentially get like another three, a four, maybe a 5X if something goes nutty, right? And that is super solid, like have that as your base, always be able to be exposed to that, and you're not going to like fumble too badly, and you're going to have some gains in the bull market. All right. I'm kind of going at it endless, like a conservative point of view for me personally, because I kind of know how some of the markets work. Like, yes, a token can 100x, but it doesn't 100x for everybody. It only 100x's for those people that actually cash out. And like the how liquidity works, that like there's not really 100x value for every holder that's there, So like a lot, these hyped up like dreams of these like Lambo moonshots and stuff like don't really happen for very many people. So conservative approach for me, I'm solid. I'm happy with it. All right. Okay. So, all right, Bailey. So we just borrowed a bunch. Okay. Now here's what we're going to do. All right. We're going to borrow more. All right. So because now Solana, you can find Solana's not going to be on Aave, and we won't be able to deposit Solana on Aave. Solana has similar money markets. If you want to then take your Solana to the Solana ecosystem and borrow from that as well, you can totally do that. All right. I'm sticking with my Aave wallet. All right. And right now, Solana, the blockchain, you can't interact with it on the Aave wallet. Okay. However, you can still buy some Solana on like the Binance Smart Chain per se. Like you don't have to be on the Solana chain to get the Solana token. It's bridged over. All right. So I'm going to be picking up Solana on say PancakeSwap and on Uniswap, and just kind of holding it on in my wallet for appreciation. Okay. BNB, right? Matic and AVAX, I'm going to be able to deposit just like we deposited our BTC and ETH into Aave and then borrow against it, right? So I'm going to be able to, on the BNB chain, put in my BNB. All right. So I'm going to be able to deposit $2,500 of BNB. It's going to go into my supplied, right? And then I'm going to be able to borrow against that. All right. And I'm going to be able to borrow again around 50% or $1,250. Borrow. All right. Then I'm going to bridge over another. So right here. Okay. So for the Matic that I bought, all right, I'm going to make sure that I have it on Polygon blockchain. I'm going to put it into Aave and borrow half of that value, 1,250. All right, so Polygon market, pop it in, Matic. All right, and then come over here, and we're going to be borrowing probably USDT. Okay, 19 right now. All these change around a little bit. So usually go with the one that's like a little bit cheapest. So be borrowing USDT. This is about like what you're going to be charged on like a credit card. The price appreciation of Matic plus what we're going to be doing with these funds that we borrow, we're going to be like crushing that APY. All right. So don't stress about that. Like, ooh, borrowing. It's like, trust me, guys, we're going to be pushing the bull market here. All right. It's not even funny. All right. We're just going to be destroying things. Okay. So we're putting it in there in the Polygon market. And then one more time, guys, the AVAX Avalanche. All right. We are going to be supplying AVAX right in here and then borrowing against that. And let's see, again, USDC 40%. That is absolutely insanity. So USDT probably once again 21%. We're going to be borrowing there. Okay, so we're going to be borrowing from these three right here, and it's going to be going into are moonshots and money makers. Okay, so this is where we actually get to do stuff that's like active in our little escapades here. So in our adventures of crypto wonder and blunders, all right, we're going to be able to now try to make some huge gains, all right, and some stable passive, kind of like income streams that we can put um, into action as well. All right, so basically, guys, we're going to have this 3,750 bucks that we have borrowed, and now we're going to be able to deploy that. All right. And the things that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be buying some moon bags. So I'm going to be identifying some tokens from popular narratives that I think are going to do like really well. These are the plays because we are really super kind of conservative here with the market caps. These are going to be a little bit of the more sketchier variety of things, so lower market caps that give you that higher potential for payout, right? Some of them might not come to fruition. It is what it is, but you have a high likelihood of gaining a lot of X's if you hit it right. And if you don't hit it right, we're not exposing all that much capital on our misses. All right. So moon bags, some farming and staking. I'm going to be doing that, and I'm going to be showing you guys some of that. Liquidity providing. All right. That is like one of the big things that I am into. Uniswap version 3. I am just printing, guys, because the volumes are so crazy. If you're interested in learning about the V3 liquidity provision, I'm going to be doing a few videos, but I'm also working on helping Mike Dre actually has a course on how to get started with this. That is so worth it because it is something that makes a lot of money. So that's one of my primary things I'm going to be doing in my moonshots and money makers. And then if anyone's into like trading, right? I'm not big into trading. I've just kind of started dabbling in it, and I could see the potential of it. But some people are making a lot of money doing trading if you know what you're doing, right? If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it, right? So you don't have to do all of these things. This is just kind of like what you could start to do with that remaining crypto to start making like those gains. Like look at AI tokens, gaming tokens, DePIN tokens, like what are the best farms, that are paying great APYs, like how do I do liquidity provision, and really start raking it in hand over fist, things like that. So, all right, Bailey, why are we going through all this rigmarole, right? Why don't I just take my 20 grand and I'll buy some BTC, I'll buy some ETH, but I'll buy some of the other stuff, but I'm not going to be borrowing against it or whatever, right? So what we've done basically, guys, is in a bull market, crypto is going to do well. We can get more exposure than what we would have with our 20 grand or whatever our buy-in is by doing the borrowing, right? So if we total up how much crypto we are exposed to, we're exposed to $33,750 worth of crypto exposure. So imagine that price appreciation, yield that you're getting and all that on all of these nice, like really solid assets right here, and our more speculative or our income bearing plays here, right? We have tons of exposure, and we do have $13,750, the 10 grand we borrowed from here. All right. And then the 3,750 that we borrowed in this stage against here, that we will have to eventually potentially pay down. But as you're going through the bull market, you're going to be able to potentially borrow more because the value of your collateral, what's in Aave, is going up. Or you can, as it goes up, you can shave some off and pay down some debt, whatever you'd like to do. If the value goes up and you borrow more, you don't necessarily have to reinvest that. Say if you have a real world expense, you can borrow and pay off a real world expense, right? You are leveraging these assets. You never have to sell your BTC or ETH if you don't want to again, right? That's what is Michael Saylor selling, all right, BTC. He had this like amazing comeback to a question like that in an interview. He was like, "Do poor people, like poor people sell Bitcoin for fiat, right? Because you don't use fiat as a store of value, right? So these are assets that you can constantly use as collateral for loans for borrowing, right? This is kind of like picture a house where you have like a home equity line of credit that you can borrow from and repay. Like this is, that in the world of crypto, right? And you can do that with these top flagship assets that you have here. All right. So pretty amazing stuff, guys. So that's kind of like the game plan. Now, obviously, all this would have to be flushed out. Like, all right, now what do I want to invest in? Like meme coins, all that stuff. But this is going to give you kind of like a solid blueprint. So if you like some of these ideas, feel free to run with it. If you think I'm an absolute crazy person and this makes no sense whatsoever, hey, awesome, right? You learned what not to do. Okay. But hopefully it gave you some food for thought. And I think that having this framework, I feel like pretty solid about it. And I feel like I'm not going to make any like huge crippling mistakes where it's like I have all my crypto like out in the playing field and then like something weird happens, like all my crypto pumps and all of a sudden like I'm liquidity providing and now I'm just left with stable coins and and I miss out on all these like gains. Like you're always going to have exposure to like some of the biggest tokens out there in the market, right? And then you're going to have like your moonshots as well. All right. So guys, I hope this was I don't know, interesting and useful. All right. And if you like this content, definitely stick around. All right. Because I'm going to be providing more content on crypto in general and all sorts of other topics are coming up in the future. All right. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Until next time, this is Bailey. I'm out.